evening, very warm welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our usual Monday night roundup of all the weekend's action from across our region. Don't forget you can get in touch with us on the West Yorkshire Football Show. You can do so using the YouTube comments box or the Facebook comments as well. You can also get in touch with us on X. If you use the QR code in the top left of the screen, that will take you straight to our X page as well. I'd like to say, as ever, I am joined by Stephen Downes, Gareth Walker, and Lewis Sale. How are we, gents? Are we all well?
Smart.
All good, mate. All good.
Full of gold, but yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a slightly pessimistic one, given the weekend's results. I think from the EFL side, there was 1 point between the three of them. Non-league did fare quite a bit better, though it's fair to say. Also, just on a completely different note, has anyone noticed how we've ended up with the best Monday night football on Sky that I've seen for a long time? Harrogate Town versus Crewe Alexandra. What a belter. Love it. Love it. Bit of promotion for the EFL.
Yeah,
you don't seem enthusiastic, Lou.
Yeah, it's Harrogate, innit? Don't like
yeah,
him.
You've never been a fan of Harrogate, have you?
No, I don't like Harrogate. It's the recently beaten Town. But the one thing I hope this week is that
it doesn't count.
The one thing that I hope this week is that me, you, and Gaz can end the stream in a professional manner this week.
Yeah, you'd hope so. After Brownie's debacle last week, we did get to the bottom of that, and it was a very Stephen Brown basically being a knob. let's just get that out there. Sadly, he can't go on to talk Leeds United, so it's down to us to discuss Leeds United, which, I mean, this could go horrendously given we've got a Newcastle fan that's related to Avenue, we've got a Huddersfield fan and a Bradford fan, and then myself as a bit of a neutral. So, yeah, Leeds, they played at the weekend, apparently, and, they played 90 minutes of football and didn't get a result.
The shy. They're off down. No, I if you want a quick, a serious review of the game, because I think most of us watched it.
You're telling me that wasn't your serious review?
No. That wasn't. That was a quoted remark. But yeah, quick remark. I thought Tottenham were decent. I thought Leeds created some chances, could have scored with Calvert-Lewin, but he's got more chance of hitting a barn door in 2028 than he has this year. Because he's just not. He can't finish, can he? He can't finish a Sunday dinner. Let's be honest. He's got all the talent in the world at linking up play, but when it comes to being an actual striker, he's just not got it. But I did think Leeds. I did think Leeds were decent, to be honest. I thought they played pretty well. Obviously, the goals that they gave away, Strike. I agree. Kind of, me and Lou were discussing this the other night between ourselves that he couldn't do a lot about it, and yet Jay and Brownie were absolutely credulous at the fact that he somehow unbelievably got a touch on it, which meant it went into the back of the net. I don't know what more he could have done, to be honest. So they were a bit unfortunate with at least one of the goals that went in. If I were a Leeds fan, I wouldn't be worried. I think there are far worse sides in the league. Obviously, it looks a little bit not great at the moment because of where they are in the table, and the points sort of have concertinaed slightly, except for Wolves. So, but I wouldn't be worried if I were a Leeds fan. I think they played well enough to beat quite a number of sides in the league. They just need to be better in the final third. For me, that's where it all comes down to.
Lou?
I watched the game and I felt that they were competitive. And this sounds pretty harsh, but we know that Premier League's real fine margins, and Leeds will do well to stay up still in this division, in my opinion, just because you look at the strength in depth across the various squads, and I do slightly worry about them in terms of that proper Premier League quality. I thought they were a little bit shaky the first 15 or so minutes. I thought Tottenham did well. like I say, I think the first goal, it's sloppy from Longstaff to lose possession, but actually Strike was trying to get back towards the ball and unlucky deflection. The second one, yes, you could argue maybe he should have gone a bit more towards it, but apparently that seems to be a running theme, possibly with Strike. I'm surprised that the likes of Bijol's not been starting recently as well. That's an interesting one. I know Perry's been out as well and he's come back to training but wasn't involved. So they do have, a few players to probably come into the mix a little bit. And I can see the guys' point of view, having watched their review recently as well over the weekend, that, they feel like they're a Premier League side competing in the Premier League. Yes, I can see that. But I can also see that there's still gaps. And I still think they've got a bit of a job to do to possibly stay in this division. I think the likes of Wolves are probably going to be down there or thereabouts. West Ham are going to be a really interesting one with Nuno. Can he get the best out of them? I suspect Burnley might be down there. Some of them may struggle if the pressure gets on them now and, some of their new signings and go to the AFCON. So Leeds are going to be in the bottom six, in my opinion. They're going to be looking over the shoulder a little bit. The home form is vital, but they do need to pick these points up away from home because they can't rely on that home form to keep them up. I think it's not bad. It's not a bad start at all from Leeds, but I think they'll need to do a little bit more to survive, having what I've seen. And I know that's probably going to rile a few Leeds fans and maybe Jane Brown a little bit, but I just suspect that some of those teams in and around that area might just get a little bit better than what they have been. And I don't know if Leeds are, I wouldn't say they're at the ceiling in terms of a Premier League at the moment, but I don't think they're far off from what they're capable of doing in this Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Jay and Brownie guys, they were pleased, I think, with the performance itself against Spurs, but ultimately, when you do play well, whether they thought they played well or not, if in their opinion they played well enough to get results. Premier League level, if you play well enough, you have to get the results, though, and obviously not the case on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to be the odd one out here because I didn't see the game, but I have 3 points I would like to make. The first one is, as you say, you kind of took the words out of my mouth, Chris. When you play well, you've got to pick up points at Premier League level because if you don't, it becomes a very, very tough league to pick up points in. And when they're playing well, and obviously they had this against Fulham away, didn't they? When they played well and they didn't deserve to lose, and then Fulham scored right at the end. So that's 2 games now where they probably think that the performances deserve more than they got, which is a little bit of a worry. The other point is that the home form is I would say that the home games are where they need to look at picking up most of the points, because we know how difficult it is for promoted teams to go away, especially with Ellen Road and the support that they get and the way that they can turn that into a bit of a cauldron. You'd expect them to pick up more points at home than they do away. So again, to play well and then get beat, a little bit of a worry there. But on the flip side of all that is the argument that games against Tottenham aren't going to be where their season's defined. Tottenham are probably a team that's going to be looking at being in the top 6, top 8 at least. Leeds need to pick up points when they play well, like we say, but their season's going to be defined against the likes of Burnley and Sunderland and the teams that Lou mentioned, really. I'd like to throw Nottingham Forest in there as well, because the way that they are at the moment, they're a basket case. And to go from somebody like Nuno to a manager like Wim, we've talked about in the group chat, haven't we? To go from Nuno to Ange is such a shift. And it's a shift that isn't allied with the squad that they've got. So the way the fans have turned on Ange already, the way that they're playing, if they don't get the finger out quickly, I think they could be down there as well. So, they were the 3 points I wanted to make, Chris, really, having not seen the game. I wouldn't be downhearted as a Leeds fan just yet. But, yeah, they do need to start picking up points in games when they play well.
It's great to see that basket case of a club. Great. It's brilliant. I get joy out of it every week.
I mean,
somebody's perked up.
You must constantly live with a bitter taste in your mouth. You really must. I mean, as for Leeds, they've got to travel to Burnley after the international break, and then they're at home to West Ham at the end of October before they go into November with the away games at the likes of Brighton and Forest, and at home against Villa and away at Manchester City. So the next 6 games, you'll look at and think, well, after the next two, you kind of wonder where the points will come from again. But these next two games away at Turf Moor against Burnley and at home to West Ham, who of course are just kind of adjusting, look absolutely huge, Lou.
Yes, they are. And I think with teams in and around them and the strength that Leeds can possess at home and arguably away at Burnley, because they know probably how they worked from last season, they need to be getting at least 4 points, in my opinion, across the whole of this season, over these next two games to survive. You cannot lose against teams in and around you. You know, if the expectation is for Leeds to survive in this division, they can't really afford to slip up against these teams. And that sounds crazy at quite an early stage in the season, but you know, you look at some of those fixtures coming up, and I know the lads reeled them off. I think we've got, you know, 3 of the top 6 arguably coming up shortly, but you know, you've gone through some of them fixtures. You know, if Leeds are gonna survive in this Premier League, they're gonna have to win, and draws away from home will be okay, but they're not a well-established Premier League club who can possibly get draws and sneak wins away from home. They're not at that stage yet, so they need to be picking up 3 points as much as they possibly can. And yes, they've had a good start. You know, they look solid enough. But those fixtures, you know, Burnley's massive. Burnley are going to be thinking the same. But, you know, they've not had a massive start, but Burnley are going to be looking the same as Leeds. And West Ham are going to go there as well, thinking, you know, we've got a fresh new manager, fresh new ideas, that have time on a training ground with the international break coming up. You know, arguably Nuno's sides, even though their team might not be suited because of pace, but Nuno tries to play that way. So that's a different, you know, conundrum that Leeds have got to deal with from what they'd have to deal with Potter. So, you know, my opinion, anything less than 4 points against those two teams, my humble opinion, I think would be disappointing from Leeds if they want to stay up.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd add,
I reckon they must be looking at it. I reckon a draw at Burnley, to be honest, and then trying and 3 points out of the game at home against West Ham is the most likely outcome there.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. And I think, you know, they're capable of even reversing that and doing it the way around. But, you know, 6 points would be a great achievement and should absolutely be, you know, kind of enjoyed and celebrated. But also, you know, it's difficult in it when you're a fan of that club and you get right in the bubble of everything and you kind of get wrapped up in that emotion. But, you know, outside looking in, 6 points for Leeds, in our opinion, would be decent. Would it be expected? Possibly not. Again, it's 50-50 because of the way, you know, Premier League can work. But I do suspect that Leeds have got to get a good return. If they lose both games, people will be questioning what's happening at Leeds, what's happening with Farker. And there seems to be a little noise about that because they've had a half-decent start to the season. We all know that, you know, if Leeds suffer 2 or 3 defeats on a bounce, the knives could potentially be in Farker's back, which is exactly what we don't need because you can't be swapping managers already. We mentioned Forest, they could swap the manager again in the next however long, and that could be 3 managers in a space of 10 plus games, which is just crazy. You're not gonna have any stability or survive on that.
No, I think what's going to help is the international break now. Go on, Steve.
The only thing I would add is that you've just read out the fixtures there, and we're talking a lot about Burnley and West Ham, but they're not exactly really easy fixtures either. You know, Burnley have been all right.
Not at all.
Burnley have been half decent this season from what I've seen, and I know that they got smashed by Man City, but a lot of teams will get harsh scorelines against Man City this year. But in the other games, from what I've seen, they've been far more competitive than what I expected them to. And obviously, Nuno at West Ham, that could go either way, really. That could go the fact he's still learning his squad at West Ham, what he's got available, so they might not be quite ready. Or you might still get the new sort of manager bounce. And I find it interesting that, and I'm not saying he's as good a striker, but like he had Chris Wood, didn't he, at Forest, and they've got Fulkrug at West Ham. You know, I mean, he likes them sort of big strikers, doesn't he? Them type that can bring the ball down, bring others into play, and get pace around that. And West Ham do have that with Bowen and obviously a couple of other lads, such as Somerville and people like that. So the West Ham job might really suit Nuno, to be fair.
I think what'll help as well on the Nuno and the West Ham thing is they've got this international break, and yes,
Yeah.
they'll lose some players to international call-ups, but it won't be the whole squad at all. So that's going to be a bonus for Nuno. Really, he's getting an early 2 weeks to work with the squad without the worry of a game.
Yeah, so I agree that I agree with Lou that who says that 4 points would be a great sort of achievement. I definitely think that's the case, but it's by no means guaranteed at all because, like I said, that I don't think they're not easy fixtures. I think the Wolves game earlier in the year, I think Wolves are a bit of a crap team, to be honest, and so I would have, if I were a Leeds fan, I'd be expecting to beat Wolves at home. But in terms of these fixtures, I wouldn't say they're that easy at all.
What I would say about Leeds, sorry, mate. What I will say, sorry, guys, is that because the Premier League is a little bit all over the place at the moment, and there's not really anybody standing out to be your next Derby or whoever, whatever that would be in years gone by. Leeds are going to have to build some consistency, but importantly, we're going to have to beat some of those top teams. A bit of a freak result. And I'm not too sure if at the moment they're at that level to really do that. And I'm kind of putting myself in a position where, again, biased again, but, look at Newcastle. We went there with no striker. Leeds did okay, but didn't win. They've played Spurs and did okay, but haven't won. They've got to pick, like Gaz said earlier, they've got to pick some of these results where they might not play as well, but they're going to have to squeeze maybe, a couple or a few results out of nowhere against them top teams to stand a chance of surviving because, and it's the same applies to Wolves, same applies to Burnley, same applies to like Sunderland. Sunderland have started to do it a little bit, but not as much. I know obviously they suffered a defeat at Man United, but those victories, you can see Leeds United may struggle a little bit away from home and are likely to get them at home. But they're going to, the likes of Man United, it's a derby. You feel that they should probably get something out of that to survive. It's crazy. It sounds as like to Chelsea, Man City. They're going to have to squeeze 3 points out of some of them games, in my opinion, to survive, which is difficult when you're a promoted team.
Yes.
It's the old cliche, isn't it? But everything that we're saying about Leeds, Burnley fans are going to be saying the same. Wolves fans are going to be saying the same about their team. I've just looked at Burnley's next 4 fixtures. Burnley have got Leeds at home, then they've got Wolves away, then they've got Arsenal at home, and then they've got West Ham away. So Burnley are going to be looking at their next 4. Like Leeds, you just said, you obviously mentioned West Ham and Burnley that Leeds have got, and that I think you said they've got Forest in the next 6 as well, didn't you?
So yes, as I say, Burnley away, West Ham at home, and that's then followed by in November, Brighton away and Forest away.
Yeah. I think we'll know more once we get to sort of mid-November. But the next international break, maybe. Maybe arguably you could say there is a little bit more pressure on Burnley in the next game because Burnley are at home and they're going to be saying exactly the same as Leeds. We need to win our home games. We need to pick up points at home. So... Yeah, I just wanted to point that out that, Leeds have those 3 games in the next 6. Burnley have those 3 games in the next 4. And I think we'll be a little bit closer to knowing once the next international break comes around in November.
I think you're spot on, to be fair, because as you say, that international break is just after that Forest v Leeds game. And I say it's then Villa at home and City away. I've just had a glance even further to December, though. Like, they go into December, as I say, with Manchester City away at the Etihad. That's followed by Leeds at home to Chelsea on the Wednesday, the 3rd of December, and then Liverpool at Elland Road on the 6th. They've got City, Chelsea, and Liverpool in 3 games. They've then got to go to Brentford, who at home have started better than you'd think. They've then got Palace, Sunderland away, and they end bizarrely in the fixture list, but they end up the last fixture of the year is away at Anfield. They've got Liverpool twice in the space of about 3 weeks by the looks of it.
That's a horrific month.
That's 6 easy points for Leeds, that, isn't it? Where Liverpool are playing at the moment.
Well, we'll see what you like once we get to December. But on the whole, it's a horrifically tough month when you look at those fixtures and you factor in how well Palace have been doing and Brentford. And I know things will change between now and December. But as I say, on the face of it now, it's going to be a very, very interesting couple of months for Leeds fans, I think, between now and the January window, to say the least. Any other business on Leeds, or should we move on?
Probably need to be at 18 points by December. I'd say.
Not far off. I think you're not far off with that.
Pick up another 10 points between now and the beginning of December.
I don't think you're far wrong with that, mate.
No, I don't think you are either. Let's move on then and turn our attentions to League One. And we'll start with the positives out of League One, I think. And that's Gaz. That's you. That 1 point that on the road, a 2 point that you ground out against the Millers of Rotherham United on Thursday night. And yeah, it looked like a comeback. It's what promotion hoping side's doing. It grind out results and come from 2-0 down to get a point. What are you shaking your head at, Sale?
Because I know what you're trying to do. Poor lad's on his ledge.
He's staying quiet. No, it was a funny game, really, and I don't want to you just described it as the positive, and it is when you look at the other results in our region this weekend. But it was a strange feeling after that game, really strange feeling. I mean, I watched it on Sky. I didn't go. One of my mates went, and it was one of those games where there were so many chances at both ends early doors, and I think City kind of probably had the better ones, and suddenly. At half time, I didn't think we really deserved to be 1-0 down. And then Rotherham scored 5 minutes into the second half, and you were like, how the hell are we 2-0 down here? Yeah. So it was a little bit disappointed. You've got to be delighted to come back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 away from home. That's the first thing. So the first feeling is we did really well there, and I'm happy that we managed to do that. And it's a big tick in the box for the side to be able to do that. But on the flip side of it, you're kind of thinking we had enough chances and we had the better chances. We probably could have won that game. So it was a really, really strange feeling after the game on Thursday night. And yeah, you're right. You know, it is what teams up near the top of the league do, and it's what we need to do if we want to stay up there. But like I said, we probably had enough in the game to win it. We did go into the game with a few players missing. Max Power was missing, who's been the captain, who's actually played really, really well this season. He was suspended because he picked up 5 bookings. So there's a little bit of a worry about how we're going to go on without him, but I think we coped quite well. Alex Patterson came into the middle of the team. There were suggestions that Jensen Metcalf might play because Jensen Metcalf's a bit more of a sitting midfielder, which is obviously what Max Power has been for us, whereas Alex Patterson's someone who wants to get forward. But Patterson came in, missed a couple of chances, but also scored the equalising goal. And Matt Pennington, disappointing, was out as well, who's been really, really good for us on the right of the back three. He had a delayed concussion, we're told, from the Blackpool game. So hopefully, given the fact that we've now got a break before our next game, thanks to Lincoln running scared, we will have both of those players back for the next league game, which I believe is Barnsley at home a week on Saturday.
I expected better of you, mate.
Go on, guys. Get into the Lincoln to sausages.
I didn't think till Jay put in the group chat who the actual 3 international call-ups were.
Look, it's all. It's a squad game, isn't it? Squad game. You know,
no one wants to come to Valley Parade at the moment. I don't blame you.
Hey, look, to be fair, it's legitimate reasons. I'll say we're like a big crew's been in decent form of late. We've got Bartholomew, who's away with Ukraine on the 21s. I can't remember who the third one is. It might be possible.
The third one was the one who I'd not heard of. I had to Google him.
Bartholomew.
No, I've heard of him, and I've heard of Diakwa, whatever it was. But it was the third one, the one that you're struggling to remember. He was the one that I had to Google.
Well, we've got a Bikwu who's going away. I think he would try Trinidad. I'll say Bartholomew's away with Ukraine.
Good to see Chris knows his own club players.
Hackett away with St. Lucia. It'll either be Hackett or I can't remember who the third one is off the top of my head.
Supporting your local team there, ladies and gents.
Local to who? Local to none of you. It's my club.
Well, not you, since you live in Eccles Hill. You don't have a local club anymore at all. Anyway, sorry. Stay quiet. Multiple team, Chris.
Wow.
I can see Downsy laughing at the bottom of the screen, grayed out.
Some people.
Unbelievable.
The other reason I think we went with the postponement is I think if Conor McGrandles had picked up a booking on Saturday, he would have been suspended for it as well. As it is, he didn't end up playing on Saturday at all. So I don't know whether that was an injury that was light on or whatever. But yeah, it's one of those. To be fair, it's annoying because, as you well know, I'd already bought my ticket. I'd already bought my shirt as well for my new shirt for that game, especially. But yeah, not to be. To be fair, I'm curious to see when they'll rearrange it for. Shouldn't be too far away, should it?
Just be a Tuesday night, probably before Christmas, is what I read. But that's obviously dependent on the two teams' schedules and whether they can agree on a Tuesday night before Christmas.
Yeah, more than likely they'll get it in. I mean, look, as I say, it's still a positive position for City. Obviously, still second in the league, leapfrog by Stevenage. Words that we never thought we'd say. With Stevenage on top of the table after their win against Luton, that obviously has seen the end of Matt Bloomfield at Luton today.
Yeah.
I mean, all in all, it's kind of the same as we've said the last couple of weeks, I guess. It's all just very, very rosy at the moment for City.
Yeah, it really is. You can't complain. I mean, I come on every week and say that most fans would have been happy with staying up. There's a few that have said we can get mid-table. The way we've started, those expectations are probably rising, but we don't want to get carried away and we don't want to get silly and toxic if we don't carry it on for the rest of the season. You know, we are going to hit a bad run at some point, I'm sure. And we've just got to remember where we've come from over the last 18 months. But a point away at Rotherham when you've been 2-0 down you've got your captain missing and one of your standout defenders from the start of the season missing is a good point, despite the fact that you probably think you could have had all three based on the chances. What I will say is that obviously, like I said before, Power and Pennington are likely to be back for the next league game. I'm hopeful that this little gap might give us a chance to get players such as Callum Kavanagh, Lewis Richards, Curtis Tilt, Aidan Baldwin, even back on the training field, who've been missing for a few weeks now. We have an under-21, Everton under-21s a week tomorrow in the Virtue Motors. So fingers crossed there's a chance for squad players or those that are working their way back from injury to come in and stake a claim in that game. Another bright spot, obviously, Andy Cook continuing to make his way back from injury, got his goal up at Newcastle in the League Cup, which is obviously a dream of his to score at St James's Park, and then came on and really, really had a big influence at Rotherham on Thursday when he set up the equalising goal for Patterson. Obviously, he's a totally different type of striker to Will Swan, who's been really good for us, but missed a couple of one-on-ones on Thursday night. He's someone who'll press from the front and really close the team down, who are trying to play out from the back. Cookie's more of obviously your target man. You play off him, bit of a pivot for you. And Alex Patterson spoke. As I said, it was a little bit of a debate whether he'd play or Jensen Metcalfe would play. Patterson got the nod and missed a couple of chances, but got the equaliser. Well, he's spoken quite openly about how he's looking forward to playing off Cook when Cook comes back, because Patterson's someone who'll break from midfield, and if Cook can hold the ball up and bring him into play, we could see the best of Alex Patterson again, which we've been desperate to see for a while, because he can be a real threat for us in League One like he was in League Two.
Well, let's just very quickly bring up the positive view of the league table. And as we say, Bradford City currently sitting second as things stand. And yeah, happy days, guys. We'll talk more next week, obviously, about the two games that you've got next week with Everton and then the Barnsley game at the end of the week. So we'll turn our attention then to Huddersfield Town, and we may as well keep the table up to start with, because it was 7th place Stockport who didn't end up getting themselves into the playoff positions. They didn't put just enough past Huddersfield Town in the end. On Saturday, a 2-1 defeat for the Terriers, Downsy.
Yeah, it was great. No, it was just a poor performance against 10 men Stockport. First half, no rhythm, no cohesion. Midfield was really weak. Oliver Norwood and Bailey ran their midfield absolutely superbly all afternoon. Second half, they get the man sent off, I think, around the 63rd minute, something like that. And I was thinking, right, well, we might, you never know. We might get into action now. Town have done this a lot. First half being rubbish, second half being a little bit above rubbish and a bit better. And it just didn't happen. And 10 men Stockport, pretty much ran the show. I mean, for a lot of that second half, Town did have the ball, and last 10 minutes we pressed them. We had a number of again added to our corner count. We've had the most corners in the league so far this year. Bojan Radulovic scored in the 91st minute, but it was kind of all said and done by that stage. And Stockport were never going to concede really a second, even with 10 men. And another disappointing day at the Aku Stadium for Lee Grant, who I have to say looked lost for the first time on the sidelines. If you'd have walked up to him and you'd have said, "Where was he?" I don't think he'd have known.
Well, that sums that up then. I mean, look, we said, I think, probably a couple of weeks ago now about Lee Grant, and, he is surely in the position of the way Town have kind of gone through managers that he can't be moved on anytime soon.
Can.
Well, that was what I said, I think, a couple of weeks ago, is the Mick McCarthy impression. But, I mean, since then, things haven't turned any corner. It's been a bit of a continuation down a little bit of a depressing. I mean, you got the win at Exeter, but obviously to them, it's the home form that it seems to be the killer for you at the moment.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's mad, really. We've won 6, we've lost 4 and drawn 1, I think, in the 11 games that we've played. The 4 losses are obviously, against teams we beat, to be honest, apart from Stockport. But yeah, Barnsley, obviously Goodman getting sent off. Blackpool, it was a mad 10 minutes. Bradford was just an absolute disgrace, and Stockport was very, very poor from start to finish. So the 4 losses are the 4 losses. We've been absolutely atrocious in them. Even in some of the wins, I mean, we were, decent against Exeter, but it was against Exeter who, I'm not saying this. Those 4 lads could have given Exeter a decent game on that day. They were that poor. Give the ball away quite a number of times. They are down there for a reason, because they are a very poor team. So it's the nature of the performances, not necessarily the results, that I think is going against Grant. And it feels at the moment a lot like last season under Duff, where you get maybe a glimpse of hope and then it just all dies away again with another dire performance. And the football's not very inspiring. We're passing it around the back over time. And he hasn't got a plan B, which Ross is absolutely right there. The one thing that Stockport did have was a big lad in the name of Wotton, who they could just launch the ball up to. He'd hold it up there. He'd elbow defenders. He'd, lay it off to people. And Town just don't have that. He's a big nasty centre forward, and Town just don't have that. And that's what sort of he's holding us back.
He's very good at what he knows he's Wotton.
Yeah, he is. But you've got the same in Cook. Cook's the same. Most teams in this league have a big centre forward, and Town haven't for maybe 6 years now, 7 years. What we need is a better version of what we had before in League One, which was Alan Lee. We need a better Alan Lee, but Alan Lee's certainly the type of centre forward that we need, and we haven't got it. So yeah, Ross is right there. We don't have a plan B, and Grant just looks lost. I mean, he put Taylor on the 87th minute. I mean, what the hell is Taylor supposed to do? He made 2 subs all game until he put Taylor on. Didn't take Castledine off until the 87th minute, and he'd had a shocker all game. I mean, I'd have taken him off at half time. So yeah, it just looks tactically a bit naive against Stockport, and he's not really learning the lessons that I think we all hoped he would so far.
What I would say is, I saw, obviously keeping me on the scores, and I saw when Stockport had a man sent off, and I thought, the way that Lee Grant wants to play football, although it's a certain way we've talked about on here, and the way that obviously you've said, Downes, I thought this is ideal. You don't want to be going long when someone's had a man sent off. You want to be able to knock it about and make the extra man count. And I honestly thought you'd come back and at least get a point out of that game. So to hear you say how you were after the man got sent off is a little bit surprising, really, and a worry if I were a Town fan, because, yeah, at home against 10 men in the style of play that Grant wants to play, I'd expect you to go on and dominate that game. You're saying it's a bit of a repeat of what was happening under Duff. Are the murmurings around the grounds and the fan base the same as they were this time last year under Duff, Downesy?
Yeah, I would say they are. Yeah, he lost a lot of fans on Saturday because of how tactically naive he was, and how he didn't affect the performance in any way. I mean, there were players arguing after the second goal. Alfie May must have come over 3-4 times to Grant, and there were words exchanged. So yeah, I think it's a very frustrated camp, and it's a very, very frustrated fan base, because there's no way we should be putting the lackluster performances that we are putting in with the squad that we've got available to us. And yes, there are injuries. I mean, we've got used to Huddersfield Town having injuries, but we have got a large squad this season. So he has got players to pick from, and they're just not performing. And the one thing that is clear in all performances that we've had losses in is the midfield battle has been woefully lost. I mean, against Bradford, we were outfought in the midfield. Against Barnsley, the same. Blackpool, the same. Stockport, Norwood and Bailey ran the midfield. I mean, literally two of them against our three lads that were kind of in there in terms of Ben Wiles, Kasumu and Ledson. We have no drive. It's weak. They all do the same sort of thing. And yeah, it's just poor. And then we don't have any width because he plays with inside sort of centre attacking midfielders out wide. So when the ball does go out wide, it's always a full back that has it. So you don't then have a second option with somebody running in behind or whatever. And then when you do whip it in, like I said, you've got Alfie May that's 5'9", or Joe Taylor that's 5'10" in there. And they can both jump, but they're never going to win the ball against a 6'4" centre-back like Stockport had on Saturday. So, yeah, Dave Chandler I think he taught Grant a bit of a lesson, really, on Saturday.
Yeah. As he would do, given Chandler's experience. I mean, Fat Wombat says they should play a trigger warning for the Town fans on the new Big Dog scoreboard before every game. Feel sorry for all of them. Dire football, Turgis atmosphere. Why do we bother going? I mean, yeah.
I mean, that scoreboard. Yeah, the scoreboard went down well. The fans that sit behind the scoreboard have now a restricted view. So that's gone down really well.
That's poor, that, isn't it?
There's fans behind said scoreboard.
Yeah, it's going around on social media, isn't it?
I haven't seen this. I need to.
Just search on Twitter, Chris. You'll find it. Basically, it's wonderful that we've got the stadium. We've had so many positives in the last week, beating Exeter, buying the stadium, and then you get there, and the fans that sit behind the scoreboard can't see, I would say, 60% of the pitch, and we lose woefully to Stockport. So,
oh wow, I've just done exactly.
Can you put the picture up on the screen at all? Can you save the because for those that haven't seen it, it might be a good representation of what.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair,
so this is from all about League One Twitter page, just to give them the credit for the image, although I don't know whether they've taken it themselves. Let me just quickly add it in. So I think what I would say is people that were sat behind that scoreboard probably didn't want to watch the game anyway. They were probably glad when they came out of the ground but they didn't see it because it was that crap. But yeah, there you go. That's the image. There you go, guys. Although, to be fair, what I will say is that picture does look to have been taken from the segregation line anyway, given the stewards to the right as well.
No, but that's the back row of the stand, Chris. That's where people sit.
That's what it's like at Chelsea, on the bottom tier at Chelsea, but not because of a scoreboard. It's because the top tier overhangs so much. So when you're at the back of the bottom tier, it's like that.
I mean, why didn't they put the scoreboard at the back of the? Anyway.
Well,
So
I always thought the old one used to be at the back of the stand because I remember turning around and
No,
looking
so-
at it at half time in the last game when it was 2-0 Lincoln.
So the old one used to be there, but it also was just a square, so it hardly took up any space. Now I love the fact that they've made a bigger scoreboard, but it's just a typical town thing. They've created something great and somehow messed it up. It's just anyway. But like I said, we've had so many positives, and then you just get to the ground and you just see a mistake like that, or you see a.
Terry 930 says that picture's a mock-up. It's not a real picture. In fact, one bat says, to be fair, Steve, restricted view isn't a negative at the moment with how we're playing. So
I was waiting for someone to say that.
Yeah, true. I don't. Terry 930, who is a regular fan of the show, so cheers for tuning in, mate. Is it? Where have you seen that it's a mock-up? I've seen an image. An image was put into a number of chats that I'm in, and I was told it was true, but I might be wrong. I don't see it in that stand, so
I'm just going to see if there's any further pictures.
I wait to be proven wrong on it. But if it is true, it's poor. If it is a mock-up and somebody's like had a joke, then fair play. I'll give the club credit, but I don't know whether it's true or not. Anyway, it doesn't excuse that the performance on the pitch was crap. And to answer Gaz's question, I would say not a large percentage of fans want Grant out yet, but there is definitely a very vocal minority starting to build Gaz 100%, which I think is mad after 11 games. But I do understand the sentiment because it was the same with Duff last season. The frustration is it just gets to boiling point very quickly with Town fans, unfortunately.
That was the point I was asking, really. Do you see similarities with Duff? And it sounds
I
like
absolutely
you do.
I absolutely do.
I mean, you've got a 10-day gap now as it is from tonight as we speak until the next game because of the international postponement or the call-ups. They've postponed the Luton Town game at the weekend. To be fair,
they ran away just like Lincoln did.
Probably not I mean, to be fair, mate, it's probably you doing the running because let's be honest, playing
We
Luton
wanted
Town
to-
now
we
with
want-
no manager wouldn't be
Grant-
a bad thing for you guys. So
Grant,
the point
Grant
I'm
after
making anyway,
games
is
to
this
be-
10-day gap now until the Bolton game. So surely this is a bonus, I guess, for Lee Grant. It's a bit of a gap and focusing on the training ground.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean, how much what can he work on though? He's only got the players that he can work with, and he's got enough players to be able to improve performances. But he hasn't got that Plan B type of player that we spoke about. You know, Bojan isn't a nasty centre forward. He's a big centre forward, but he's a soft centre forward. That's what I would say. He's not a big hard man that we kind of need like Wootton is.
He's got a couple of goals to any of late, to be fair to him, which is, to be fair, I didn't expect him to see a pitch in a Huddersfield Town shirt, let alone find the back of the net in a Huddersfield Town shirt at the moment.
No, I mean, Kane is Bojan's number one fan on Town Talk. Absolutely loves the bloke. But I'm yet to see it from him, to be honest. And there's a lot of fans I think in the same opinion to me that they're not convinced by him. He doesn't do it regularly. If he was absolutely smashing it in training, he would be starting, or he would at least be coming on a lot more and not in the 90th minute or whatever he came on in. So yeah, it's a bit down at the moment. Hopefully the international break will prove positive. But we're in probably our tough. We talked about Leeds and having a tough December. I would say this is our toughest month coming up right now with the fixtures that we've got, to be honest.
Well, let's quickly touch on them, as we say. So, no get the weekend. Thursday the 16th is Huddersfield versus Bolton. Saturday the 25th, you go to visit Michael Duff's Wycombe Wanderers. Go into November, and league game-wise, you've got Plymouth Argyle at home on the 8th, Cardiff City away on the 15th, Mansfield away on the 22nd, and high-flying Wimbledon at home on the 29th. So, yeah, you're right. Looking at November, it's not an easy-looking month at all.
No, they've all got storylines to them. Obviously, we Duff going to Wickham. That's not easy. Wimbledon, we don't do well against teams that are more physical than us, and Wimbledon's probably one of the most physical in the league.
They really are.
I would say Bolton is always a Lancashire, Yorkshire sort of derby game, where I've seen them plenty of them over the years, where anything can sort of happen. The atmosphere will be hopefully red hot, but they are a good side of Bolton. So there's a lot of fixtures in there that kind of worry me, to be honest. And we could be sat at the end of November, and I could quite easily see us being 10th or 11th mid-table by the end of November. I really can.
Yeah, I'd say the fact we got Plymouth at home in there, plus Cardiff away, who are obviously going well, and Mansfield, who aren't doing too bad of themselves. It's, time will tell in due course, I guess, just how things pan out. Let's move on then from League One and turn our attentions to the non-league scene across our region. Lou, obviously, is our non-league expert. We'll start with, as we usually do, at the top and work his way down. So for FC Halifax Town at the weekend, they just keep on going off the back of a good win for them in midweek at Rochdale. They backed that up with a 2-0 win at home against Brackley on Saturday as well. So in those playoff places, as you can see in 6th, and as you can also see on that graphic as well, unbeaten in 6 and 5 straight wins.
Yeah, really good run in it for Sherman at the moment, and seem to have found their feet under the new coaching staff and pretty much a new squad assembled. So, yeah, it's really good news for them. Obviously, they've not had an easy running either. Let's be honest. Yes, they've beaten Gateshead and Morecambe, but in between that, they've had Aldershot, big result against Rochdale, and then obviously the game against Brackley. So they just seem to be doing the right things at the moment. And listening to Adam Lakeland's interview over the course of the weekend, he was really complimentary of his team, but how they stuck in and really dug deep. And yes, arguably rode the luck at times. But Brackley, for those who are unfamiliar from National League North days, they are one of the most organised and disciplined sides you will come to face in non-league. So to come out 2-0 victors, we've, again, pretty much a squad that's just learning how to gel together. Is a really good turnaround for Halifax. And yeah, we can look at the table and it looks much better than what it did, arguably 2 months ago. But, again, they've got the FA Cup coming up this weekend away at Southport, which is potentially tricky, but one that you'd probably expect them to win. Then the first long trip down to Truro, and then the next National League game is at home against York, which is massive for them. So those are the games that we'll want to win if we're going to be standing a chance of being in and around that playoffs.
You muted, Chris.
Muted, Mr. Bell.
That's more sense you've spoken all night. Unbelievable, Jeff.
Quick word before we move on from Halifax on former Halifax man Chris Millington and Andy Cooper. They're back in work. Obviously, we did the interview with them in the pre-season. Back in work at Solihull Moors.
Yeah, really tough for the two guys. I know they've been in and around the local area and been keeping an eye on at certain level of football, just to make sure that they kind of know the length and breadth of what's happening. And actually spoke to him once they got announced for the jobs at Solihull, and they're really looking forward to it. Coots were really happy to get his boots back on, and that's where he lives, doesn't he, on a training ground. And for Chris as well, who was, has been joking to us guys and me on messaging saying, he needs to find a job pretty quickly. And it was ironic that it's come up at Solihull, which seems to be a decent connection between both Coops and Millie, and as well with Solihull, a club that's progressive, not one of the big hitters in that league, but are on the way up over recent years and should be steady enough. And you look at that squad, the likes of Jamie Osborne, a phenomenal talent in that division. Arguably they could do with a couple of extra signings to come in at some point, and I'm sure they've definitely done the homework. But a point away at Eastleigh's solid enough. And they'll be really wanting to get some time on that training ground to put their thoughts across. So yeah, all the best to Chris and Coops. I know that we'll try and speak to as much as we possibly can, but it might be a bit more difficult now they're employed.
Yeah, I mean, they got a 1-1 draw in their first game of the weekend away at Eastleigh as well. So we wish them well in that job. Moving on, then we'll turn attentions to the FA Trophy, and both Guiseley are through, Avenue through on Friday night. Some positive results for sides in our region.
Yeah, we called it the other week about Guiseley just having a little bit of consistency now, and that's exactly what Bowles was saying in his interview at the weekend after winning at Brid 4-2. Not an easy place to go. The pitch looked great from the outside, but when you get in it on it, it's bobbly. It's just like being on a beach, pretty much. So they've done well to get that over the line. Good turnaround with the likes of Will Longbottom getting on the score sheet and Lewis Knight getting there as well, which is a big plus for them, because he's one player that will be looking to be an impact player after suffering really bad injury problems over the past few years, and Lou's definitely got it in his locker to produce something. It's just again getting them regular minutes.
And a couple for John Thewlis as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and Thewlis just knows where the back of the net is. He's such a prolific goal scorer given the service, and I'm pretty sure that he'll continue to do good things at the line. So yeah, I think they've just started to turn that corner a little bit. Again, they've had to reshape the squad over the course of the summer. Plenty of young ones coming in, a few from lower levels like João Silva and Birchall getting used to the level as well. So I think they'll push up. Obviously, the draws come out. Who did they get again? Who did they get, Guiseley? It's completely escaped.
You tell me. I forgot that the trophy draw was made earlier on today.
Let me just check, because I'm saying this because I saw it earlier and I completely missed it. Oh, that's it. We travelled to Prescott, or ironically Lancaster, so not necessarily an easy game. Obviously, they've just been up to Lancaster and drew 0-0 if Lancaster get through that game. So it's one where Bowes and Bosch are never blessed with cup ties. I remember when he was in charge of BPA, we got Salford away, we got Kidderminster away, we got Gateshead away, we got pretty much the toughest ties you could possibly think of. And the luck still seems to be deserting them at Guiseley. But yeah, I think they'll do all right. They'll start climbing the league. Got a really solid unit, and now they've got competition for places. The likes of Lucas have done somewhere on the bench at the weekend, pushing likes of Ollie Brown and the rest of them. So it's a good headache to have, and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, Silsden, their game was postponed on Saturday. They'll try again tomorrow night against Stocksbridge Park Steels from the league above in the FA Trophy. Winner of that will travel to Hyde.
Yeah, it's a weird one with Silsden, because I've again recently seen the interviews with Cav, where he feels in the first 20 minutes or so that they were competitive, and then they just weren't good enough for that last set. And again, it's a strength in depth in this league will really hurt teams, and Silsden are going to have to somehow just try and scramble a few plays together. It seems to be difficult. I don't think the necessarily money's there to go out and just sign who they want, and it's that's the jump up from being champions to being established in that league, and it will be a tricky one. Stocksbridge is a really good test for them. It's one that they're capable of winning. Stocksbridge are not on a good run of form, having been promoted. It's a good test for Silsden, and then after that, we've got a weekend game, and then they face BP on a Tuesday night, which is a derby. We've not faced BP in the league before, so they'll want to up the game and get ready for that one. But yeah, we know from speaking to Cav that having not been at this level, they've had to do a lot of homework, a lot of prep behind the scenes to make sure they're ready for this campaign. And they just they've just got to get a few runs together, because they are potentially looking over the shoulder, but we know that the quality they've got in their ranks is good enough on a day to stay up. It's whether the one, that they keep that squad together, and two, whether they get lucky with injuries and suspensions, because apart from outside the a 12 or 13, then in my opinion they're struggling for North for MPL East quality.
Yeah, that's fair. Avenue, as we mentioned, also through as well, Lou, on Friday night in all manner of stormy conditions with the wind and the rain. I mean, let's be honest, the Horsfall Stadium at the best of time feels like it's got its own microclimate, but it really was testing conditions, to say the least, on Friday night. Avenue getting through, but with a 2-1 win over Heaton Stannington. Did the wind play its part with the goalkeeper, maybe?
Yes.
Heaton Stannington?
I think so. I did feel sorry for him, because I believe he's also the goalkeeping coach as well. He's Tom Flynn at Heaton Stannington. He made a couple of decent saves, but yeah, when you watch it back in the replays, and I know I've been on commentary duty, yeah, it wasn't great from him. I know McCourt tried to catch him out of a free kick, but he should be catching it. And I think even when he's probably looking back, he's not even gathering it. He's kind of got his hands up like that, which in those conditions of a wind and a rain in his face isn't favourable. And then the second goal is, it's a hanging cross, which, either you stay on your line or you come out. He's never really committed to it, and Corner's got the header in. So I think Stannington were okay. They're not a bad side. In the final third, they looked okay. They should have scored probably at least 2 goals if it wasn't for Jack Hall making some really good saves. And unfortunately, it was a bit of a misclearance from Hall, which has let Hopper in to shoot from 35, 40 yards, and he's found the net with the help of the wind. But his accuracy was on point. Yeah, Avenue they're not spectacular, but they're getting the job done. Performances are top notch, but results are done. So that's keep them going in the FA Trophy. I think it's the first time in a long time since I remember Avenue have been in the first round. Either at home to Runcorn Linnets or Morpeth. And also in the league, playing on Tuesday night against North Ferriby, which will be a really tough tie. First against 6, Avenue unbeaten in 12 league games, so yet to be defeated in league. And North Ferriby have gone 5 unbeaten in the league, so it's the games are coming really thick and fast. And I think Avenue have played more home games than away games. I think we've played about 12 home games potentially at the moment compared to 5 away. And, home form is notorious in the years gone by not being Avenue's strongest point, but this year seems to be decent. But I think tomorrow night's a real tough test for both teams. Hopefully conditions are much better than what they were Friday night. But Avenue, having swapped and rotated the squad, North Ferriby, signing a few players and, most recently letting the likes of Ben Whelan go on dual reg to Albion, building their squad as well. So, it's a good test for both teams. I think it'll be I'm going to jinx it. I don't see many goals in it. But yeah, wait for the 4-all thriller.
You're muted, Gaz. You're muted.
It's not worth repeating. It was just being a 5-4 incoming comment.
You're not wrong, Gaz. You're not wrong. Well, one year it was 4-all, I remember. And it was, we had a young keeper who was on loan, I think from Chesterfield at the time, and the wind was just as bad as what it was on Friday. And the poor lad was making his debut, I think, at about 17, 18 years old, and it was just an absolute come down to earth parking.
Yeah.
I think he got substituted even at half time or after 60 minutes. Yeah. One of those where the wind's completely against you, concedes 4 on his first senior debut, and you're just like, it was horrific, bless him. And the game wasn't much better. 4-all was it should have ended 0-0, but it was just a win at the start.
Character building, I think, is what it would have done for him.
That's very diplomatic, yeah. Very diplomatic.
Touch on the games that happened in the MPL East and over the course of the weekend. Garforth, they were heavily beaten at home against a flying Redcar Athletic side. It was Garforth 0, Redcar 5. Elsewhere, Hallam 0, Emley 0. In a game which went to a pitch inspection and passed it. Brighouse, they were beaten narrowly 2-1 away at Big Spend in Matlock Town. And a local derby saw that Ossett United beat Pontefract Collieries by 2-0. In a game that also sees the 2 occupants of Ossett United's ground at the moment, Ings Lane, between Ossett and Ponte.
Yeah, and I know that Wally were really chuffed with his performance. Jonathan Williams from Ponte was obviously kind of saying it was really close, but they were just a bit more clinical. For those of you who've not seen it, do check out Ossett's goal from Jack Crook on social media. It's a 35-yard absolute screamer. Really one for contender of the season already. But yeah, and also good news from Ponte's perspective is that the pitch down there at the Collieries, it looks, and the stadium looks to be very, very close to being open. I think the scholars have been on it this either yesterday evening or today to give it its first run out, and it looks a really good setup down there at Ponte. So they'll be really looking forward to getting home, because that will play a whole lot differently to what Ossett will do, and especially as winter months coming up. Ponte, yes, they've struggled in recent weeks and shipped quite a lot of goals, and apparently with a few home truths said in the dressing room. The quicker they can get at home, the better, I think. But yeah, I think Emily, Hallam, that's such an awful place to go at the best of times because of the pitch basically being a hill. So that rain has probably run off, so there was no need for a pitch inspection on that one. Brighouse have kept Matlock really tight for 2-1. Yes, it's a defeat, but they can probably really be proud of that efforts. And Redcar had just banging goals for fun. I think we've got a goal difference of +27. You know, the Thrash Silsden 10-1 the other week. Gareth have just come at the wrong time. Red Card have come at the wrong time for Gareth. That's just top and bottom. Gareth should be kind of middle of the table, but the standouts to me at the moment, I say it week in, week out about Ossett. They just punch massively above the weight with the resource and budget they've got. Wally's proving to be an outstanding manager, and I think that's 4 clean sheets in 5 for Ossett United, which is exceptional. So, and I think they've got over 300 for that game against Ponty in terrible conditions. So it's really good times there, I think, at infield at the moment.
Yeah, just to go through the positions of our kind of sides in the FA Avenue still top of the table, having played a couple of games more than the chasing sides. Emily currently sitting 5th, Ossett in 9th, Pontefract Colliery in 11th, Garforth 13th, and then Brighouse and Silsden currently occupying the bottom 2 spots in 21st and 22nd, respectively. Into the Northern Counties then, in the Premier Division over the course of the weekend. Campion, they got a 1-1 draw against Boxford Town. Eccleshill United, they beat Horbury Town by 2-1 at Cougar Park. Albion Sports were beaten comprehensively by Liversedge. Liversedge were running out 3-0 winners to go top of the NCL Premier Division. Penistone Church were beaten 6-1 away at Parkgate. Thackley got a win away at Pickering Town by 3-2 as well. I mean, Lou, some interesting scorelines and results over the course of the weekend. Thackley back to winning ways away from home, and Eccleshill as well picking up that big win. That 2-1 win over Horbury.
Yeah, they've started the season well, Becky, to be fair, considering everything that's happened during pre-season. You know, mid-table 11th is really solid. Liversedge just starting to find a feet. You know, they've got such a good squad, and I noticed that, you know, a couple have left recently. Matt Dempsey's gone to Albion Sports, and also Ben Grich Brooksbank has gone to Campion as well, so they're really settling down with their squad. You know, Taddy had a great start under Ryan Qualter, but you just feel that quality of Liversedge is starting to come out. Albion Sports have made a few recent signings, Dempsey being one of them. Ben Whelan coming on loan from North Ferriby, who was with Bradford Park Avenue last year. I think we've got a new keeper from Brigtown as well. So this is where already, 13, 14 games into the season, you will see a lot of, you know, carousel of movement with transfers. But yeah, Sedge are doing well. You know, we need to probably see a few more West Yorkshire sides kind of up there or thereabouts. In recent years, we've had that. This year, there's only Sedge that are really kind of in that mix at the moment. But I think Campion need to start picking up a little bit. Thackley have done well considering a whole new team. Again, Jamie Price probably working miracles with his squad and, you know, getting a few players in to help their cause. So, yeah, we just need to see a few of those climb up the league ladder. Gold could have kind of got their fall back with Doyle, Wilkinson, Petch going back in there. So, yeah, they just need to pick up a little bit of form. Not being a great start for our teams in that division.
No. In quick look at NCL Division 1 as well, the results go through. Glasshouse and Welfare were started bottom of the league. They were beaten 8-1 at home by Armthorpe Welfare on Saturday afternoon. Elsewhere, Ilkley Town got a 1-1 draw against Clubthorne Colliery. Leeds UFCA, they got a 5-0 win over Crowell Colts as 2 new sides of the division met in Leeds. Elsewhere, South Leeds were beaten away 5-1 by Louth Town. And Route 1 Rovers, they were beaten at home 4-1 by Brig. And then finally, Wakefield, they got a 2-1 win to keep themselves well inside those playoff places. But Leeds UFCA, that 5-0 win for them, Lou, against Crowell Colts, does move them into the playoff places. Yeah,
they've had a really, really good start and probably a bit of an unknown quantity, but, you know, the scoring goals are fun at the moment. Again, with a good goal difference, 24 points from 14 is a really solid return. You know, yes, Ilkley at the moment kind of sitting in the bottom end of the table. South Leeds, very similar. Doncaster City is surprising a few people being that far low in the league. But, you know, Durham District's really solid. Wakefield up there as well. Armthorpe Welfare at that point, and I don't know if many people have seen this, beat Glasshoughton Welfare 8-1, and they scored 6 goals in the final 2 or 3, 4 minutes of the game. Absolutely balmy. So they scored on the 88th minute, 89th minute, and then 3 goals in 90+ minutes, which is just crazy. So it's that's one for a bit of a pub quiz for people. So decent enough. Clubs are thereabouts, but I think, unfortunately for our region, is probably going to be the likes of Downes District and likes of Wakefield and Westbury Railway to really take it to the playoffs. But you never know with the likes of Leeds, UFC Avon might just be a surprise package like what Ilkley were last season.
You can just imagine the Glass Out and Welfare Gaffer at 3-1 down in the 85th minute thinking, right, let's just keep things tight, see the game out 3-1, and then bang, 5 goals in the 88th, 89th and added time. But there's a way to kill your goal difference if ever I've seen one.
Just a bit, and you also hear that thing, don't you, where you might push a few forward and you might concede one in the final moment, which is acceptable, but not to concede 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite the extremes. A quick glance at the Northwest County as well. Barlick, they won. I mean, I'm surprised the game went, but they managed to get over there. They were away at the Isle of Man, Barnoldswick Town.
How did
on
they
the
get
weekend.
there?
And bearing in mind that they had the ferry out, I think on the Friday, either Friday or first thing Saturday. I'm bloody impressed they even made it. But to come away with a 2-1 win is obviously a positive result for a Barlick side. They've recently changed the management team as well. And finally, in the First Division North, Steeton, well, their game was postponed. So Steeton, they go the weekend unbeaten, I guess, through silver linings.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't catch me on a ferry on the Friday with that storm kicking about. I mean, obviously worth it in the end, but you would not get me on that trip to Isle of Man during them weather conditions. But yeah, decent enough. And I know the guys at Steam would be looking to kind of really kickstart and keep on going because we didn't have a bad start to the season in the first division North, and they just need to pick up a little bit of form again. But like I say, now it's hard, isn't it? Because we've not had a bad day today, but we will see over the coming months a few postponements coming in. We'll see a lot of rearrangements. We're going to see a lot of people moving in and out. This is that almost the mini transfer window, even though there isn't one in non-league, where you'll see a lot of players moving about, and there's going to be a lot of moves and shakers. So, do check out the club websites and social media, and especially the league sites, because they will be trying to keep people updated. Because I'm not going to lie, I can't keep up with it because there's players moving day in, day out.
It's absolute chaos. It really is. Meanwhile, Barlick, just for the league tables, currently 16th in the Premier Division. As we said, Steeton, their positive start, they are sitting 7th at the moment, just a point outside the playoff places. That rounds up everything from our non-league scene. At some point, Lou, we will try and get back to doing a non-league show throughout the week as and when we can. But the problem is, it's that difficult to get out at the moment because that much football that we're both taking at the moment. It's not the easiest to do. Any other business before we wrap up there, lads? Downes and Gaz, you're both muted, by the way.
Don't think so,
man. No, got nothing left, officer.
Well, there we go. We'll end it on that note then, as I think I'm taking the second half of Harrogate v Crewe, which is 1-1 at the half-time. So, yeah, not the rest of that. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, whatever you guys get up to. Keep an eye on our social media channels. I'm sure that Jay and Brownie will be back with some Leeds United content in the coming days. They seem to have taken to doing one on a mid-morning on a Thursday or Friday. Downsy, Town Talk on Sunday, or
no,
because there's no fixture?
No, week off this week. We don't need to discuss the ins and outs of why sacking Grant would be a terrible idea.
You might put in an even bigger scoreboard. There might be something else to talk about.
Well, there always is stuff to talk about with Town, to be honest, whether it's good or bad. But my main way to end the podcast this afternoon is obviously we talked about the Leeds fixtures earlier on, so it's up the Clarets. That's what I want to say. Up the Clarets.
Given the historical rivalry between Huddersfield and Burnley, I'm not sure you can really say that, to be honest. But anyway, we will end it on a peculiar note from Stephen Downes. Gareth, big thank you to Gareth Walker, to Stephen Downes, and to Lewis Serve for joining me tonight on the West Football Show. Enjoy the rest of your evening, whatever you get up to, and we're back next week. See you later.